can feel your heart pound beating like a kick drum. Love it when I'm this drunk.
G'day friends, welcome to today's YouTube video. My name is James. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. Hello. Today I'm in my Hobonichi 5-year journal, and one of my favorite journals. I'm on the second year. I started this last year. It's got a full year complete in it, and I've got the second year ready and raring to go. Well, I've been in it. Plot twist. I've kept up. But the thing is, there's two sides of the page, right? So there's the left-hand side where you do your documenting for the 5 years, and then the right-hand side has been left blank. And it's this gorgeous, really, really thin paper, and it's just super full of really gorgeous things and memories, but I decorate as I go along, and technically, since it's a 5-year journal, I've got 5 years to finish that right hand side of the page. So some are more decorated than others. It just kind of depends on how I felt that day, because this is a daily journal. I chose the A6 size, so it's really, really teeny tiny, because I don't have much more time to devote to like daily practices as far as journaling goes. In fact, I've got less than time at this point. So it's kind of, difficult to throw something in the mix that's going to take a lot of planning or a lot of time or a lot of preparation and work into a daily routine. I absolutely could throw in like a monthly challenge, but I can't necessarily figure out how to keep doing too many more daily things. In fact, I think this is kind of the limit. So I'm glad that I chose this, because it really does work for me, and I love the idea of having this journal full of 5 years of my memory. Yeah, if you've seen my little videos about the Hobonichi 5-year before, you'll know how much I love it. But I decided to grab my Concepts 2 stamp set, and this is the 4x6 version. This is the really, really small one. If you remember when I did my relaunch of all my signature collection stamp sets, I have the concept stamp sets, the 6x8, the original, and then I added 2 new designs, but I made all of them available in 4x6 as well, because typically they're only 6x8, and it's a really big set to play with, and I love it. It's really substantial, but I really wanted a smaller size, literally for this purpose, so I could play in my smaller journals. I wanted to play with it in my planner. I wanted to put it in my Hobonichi 5-year if I felt like it. I've got A5 journals, so sometimes it's nicer to work with smaller things rather than big stamp sets. But I'll find a reason to have all of them, to be honest. But I really, really like the 4x6. It's super fiddly. I always say this, but a lot of those 4x6 stamp sets are really, really fiddly, so I never recommend them to anyone that has dexterity issues or just doesn't want to deal with the fiddly nature of them. But if you are looking for them, they're restocked in my store, link down below in the description, in my Etsy store. I was going to go on a rant about Etsy for a second, but, can't be bothered. Basically, I am still on Etsy. I know I said I was moving to my own platform. I really, really tried to make that work. Current situation just kind of put a bit of a halt, a bit of a pause on that, I guess. So we'll revisit that as soon as we can. And currently, international shipping is not available, so US only. Wow, what a mess of an announcement that was. Let's move on to what I'm actually doing, because 3 minutes in, I haven't told you. I've stamped out all the images. I've ghost stamped them. You saw that I was stamping them off on a little manila tag to the side, and then I would stamp them in my journal. I only want the second impression, like the ghost stamp, because I just want it to be a base. A lot of what I like to do is what I call stamping an illustration, where I don't have to draw all of the framework. I can just layer everything decorative on top, which is why the concept stamp sets come with all those little extra pieces, because they're just shapes and little motifs that can help you puzzle play your way to like a really interesting and kind of fun illustration. But for these ones, I actually had the inspiration already, because if you've been following us on Instagram, Steve and I have been going Instagram live like for what feels like every day of my life. I've been having a really good time doing it. I did have to have a break for a hot minute, just because I felt like I was starting to set a precedent. You know what I'm like, get out of jail free card. So I just decided to take a hot minute of a break, but I'm back at it, so it's fine. We've been doing these these trio of ladies. You might have seen this one popped into frame when I was sketching her out, and yeah. So what I wanted to do was stamp, because I've been loving that stamp actually. It's from the Concepts 2 stamp set. So this is the 4x6 version. I stamped them all out on the right hand side, and I wanted to draw either the one that we did in the Instagram live, because a lot of them were themed, or one that represented what happened on the day. So it's kind of like the muse of that day. And there's a fortnight. I did 14 for you. I was only going to do 7. Oh, I didn't really do them for you. I did them for me. Well, I was going to record 7 and then just be like, and here's some I prepared earlier. But I thought, you know what? You deserve it. You really do. You deserve a full 20-minute, 14 images packed into here. I know it's a bit of overkill, but hopefully you enjoy the process of just seeing it come together. I've gone and attacked them all really, really differently. Some I've just done a really loose watercolor to, some I've just done with ink, or some has been really, really abstract, and then others have been a little bit more, you know, put together, a little bit more thought went into some of them. But a lot of them were just reproductions of the same ones that we did in the live. Now, what's interesting is that I wanted to see what I would do given myself like a little bit more time or a little bit more play, but the size was so much smaller that I had to adapt some of the detail that I was adding in anyway. So it's always a good challenge to work at different scales, because you kind of figure out what is necessary to put in and what you could lose when you're scaling down. Ultimately, I actually find it harder to scale up because you've got more space, you've got more open space to add things. So typically I find it easier to scale down than to scale up, because scaling up requires more added to it for it to be interesting. Scaling down is kind of like, what do you take away? So anyway, this is what we've done. I think the first one we did was a Dorothy in Dior from The Wizard of Oz. Steve and I were doing a fashion Instagram live. That was super fun. Then we did the Birdie Bots, inspired from Harry Potter. Birdie Bots Every Flavored Beans, inspired by my Muggle art study. Oliver, can you not? This cat, I swear. One cat's in trouble and the other cat's trying to rescue the other cat. She's not in super trouble. She was being naughty, so I put her in the room. Oliver's trying to let her out. That's that whole story. Can you please not, Oliver? Thanks, Steve. Sorry. Then the next one we went to was the Lullaby League, which one of my all-time faves. And that's from the Wizard of Oz. This one is the Strawberry Shortcake inspired one that we did. But we gave them... That was around the time I did the Gatsby sketch flicks. So I was really in the 20s, like the roaring 20s kind of a mood. But I think I don't know. We go on those weird tangents when we're Instagram live. You know, it's super non-predictable. Like, you don't know where you're going to end up. So our focus is just to have fun and just chat and have banter, connect, laugh. So it's actually a shock to me at all that within that hour, those 2 hours, that we get anything done. But it's been a really interesting challenge. If you've never been live before, I mean, I don't know why. If you don't need to be, like, I don't know, still find a way. Go do it. Just experience what that feels like. It's a very unique experience that I was never comfortable with at first, honestly, because I'm way too candid just to be running my mouth on a live stream. But I think I have grown in maturity since that point, and I feel a little bit more comfortable now, or I'm just a little bit more learned at it. I don't know. Anyway, the last one we did... Oh, I've forgotten already. No, I did. What did I say? Oh, the wigs. I didn't say it. It was wigs. We were inspired by wigs, big drag queen wigs. For that last one, and someone had pointed out that it actually looked like the mother from Drop Dead Gorgeous, which I couldn't unsee it when I saw it, so I really loved that. But I love the reproduction in this mini journal better than the original. And this one here was, I did another sketch flicks. I haven't put that up on YouTube yet. It's the live action Cinderella, and then I used this cloche kind of felted fabric folded hat from The Great Gatsby, and I've just merged The Great Gatsby and the Cinderella live action together in this one, because both those happen on the same day, and I wanted to just kind of take inspiration from that, I guess. Maybe I was thinking about The Great Gatsby. When did this happen? Did I do that? Yeah, no, that's the day I did it. So maybe I wasn't inspired. Maybe. Because I was saying the Strawberry Shortcake was inspired by Great Gatsby, but this is the day that it happened, because this is a chronological journal. So unless I was time traveling, I don't know how that makes sense, but perhaps I was already thinking about the Great Gatsby, and that's what inspired me to watch it, which then inspired me to sketch flicks it. Maybe that's how that happened. I don't know. I'd have to go back and read my journal. Oh, by the way, speaking of reading my journal, on the page there, if you do decide to stop and screen capture or read through this journal for whatever reason you might, I don't know, have a little bit of a sticky beak. Really, there's never anything in there that would implicate me in any kind of way. Save that for a different journal. But on this day, I really went in. So if you have to read it, I'm whinging about whinging. So it's very that. If you want to screen cap and record it, go for gold. I'm a real person sometimes, and I do have a lot of feelings that I vent out. It's been a really interesting time. So, I kind of want to capture that in this journal. I think the idea is that 5 years later, or whenever I look back at it, maybe in 30 years from now, I look back at the journal and there's a real snapshot of what was going on, how it was going on, who I was when it was going on, So that's that. But who I was doing on the page, Xanadu. Kira. I was doing Kira from Xanadu. I love an Olivia Newton-John moment. So that was Kira from Xanadu and her neonness. I then took on Tinkerbell. We did a dress forms, like a fashion-y dress form kind of a thing. Steve's been learning how to do watercolor and fashion illustration, and he's been learning it on Instagram Live. Also, the other day he did the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. He did an urban sketch that is like better than anything I've ever come up with, and it was his first attempt at it. So we've kind of unlocked that Steve has this natural talent that we're now trying to nurture through live streams. For journaling. If you don't know, Steve is my husband. So if you want to go and check out any of that, some of the replays are available on my blog at jameslukeburke.com. Otherwise, catch us on a live stream and Steve will most likely jump in and do something and learn something. Sometimes he gets a little stressed, but then other times he just really goes for it and he has a lot of success. But he can get a little upset if he doesn't get it straight away. Who does that sound like? But he does do a really good job. And we figured out it's because he has a really good visual recall, which really helps him. And I think that's probably why he's a really good photographer as well. If you want to see some of his real work, because we're teaching him how to be a journal girl. He's not one yet. Well, I think he is. He's kind of, but he hasn't fully come over to the dark side. So I'm going to send you to his website, stevelemonesphotography.com, and you can see his photographic work, which I think actually plays a part in how he's developed his artistic style, because you can tell it's the same person. It's the same person who has like this insane eye for detail and glamour and style and taste, and it's very, very dramatic. So that's the journaler that he's turning into. We'll see. We'll put him on his journey and we'll see where he ends up. But he's having a good time learning it. Anyway, this is the next one. This is Ravenclaw Girl. Very interesting title, I know. I was doing Muggle Art Study. If you don't know, that is an online retreat. It was an online retreat last week. Now it's just a replay and a workshop. But it was an online retreat through Art Journaling the Magic. And it is very magical, themed to a certain wizard you might know. And this is my representation of that. Although she kind of looks like a Dementor. I mean, I was thinking it's just like a fun modern Ravenclaw kind of smoky robe. I don't really know what it is. I love that her face is so plain and structured through all of that haze. But I think all the shadowing that I did around it kind of makes her look like a Death Eater or something. So take your pick. This is another thing from Muggle Art Study. This was Brit's cauldron, like the potions lesson, and she had these beautiful plumes of smoke coming out, which we all had so much fun trying to make look as magical as we could. If you haven't done any online retreats before and you're kind of thinking about it, I'd encourage you to get in on one of these live ones, just because they're a really different experience. It's not learn at your own pace. You are guided through them live, but they're recorded so you can go back and watch them afterwards. I'm not a spokesperson for anything here. I personally love doing them as a student, and I have taught at some of them before. But I love to do them like in my own personal time. It's something that I really enjoy doing, because a lot of the time I think, I don't know, it's hard to say this without really going on a rant, but sometimes when you become a teacher or when you have your own business, it's really hard to find a place where people will let you study from them, or people aren't going to like kick you out and block you from things. So to find a place where you're encouraged to learn, and that you know, because everyone is still learning, and whether you might be really, really good at one thing, you could be absolutely shocking at another thing. And I find that it's really great to try and learn to be better in those places from people that are really good at it. And one of the things that I struggle with, I used to struggle with a lot, was letting go and playing. And then, I've learned through time how to be better at that. I think a really great proponent of that was Tangi. When I first got involved with Art Journaling the Magic at Disney, when we went to a Disneyland retreat, I was I think even more at the recent ones, like I'm pretty apprehensive to try new things because I like what I like and I know that I'll have some success with it. If I don't think it's going to work out, I do kind of get nervous. Sorry, this is a bow truckle. That was also from Mongol Art Studies. That was one of the lessons that I taught. Not that specifically, but that style. Anyway, so back to that. I'm pretty apprehensive because I want to know that I'm going to have success with it. Otherwise, I won't have fun, which is fine for any other circumstance, right? But there are these weird moments where I catch myself wanting to learn something, and there's a big barrier to try and push yourself through. And especially if you're doing it by yourself, sometimes you just don't feel encouraged to do it. It feels like this uphill battle that shouldn't be a battle, but it is for some reason. So anyway, I'm pretty good at pushing myself through that most times, but if I can get someone else to lead me through it, that is also really, really nice. And I think something that is something I never considered before I became like my own business person, my own teacher. I didn't know that would become, nearly inaccessible for me. So I always speak from a place of loving it for the fact that this is still a place where I get to learn and I get to have fun as a student. And sometimes I hop in as a teacher, but let's be real, I'm really milking it for all it's worth as a student because I just enjoy it that much. And that's really important to me. And I think that's why I like to share it a lot. But Tangi will really get you to play. And she'll tell you she knows how to get you to play, and it's true. People pick up their watercolors for the first time and finish those online retreats or some of those happy place art parties. They finish them with like journals full of illustrations and paintings, and from people that have said, I'm not particularly creative, or I don't know how to do this. They'll get to it and they'll show you something. So I really, really love it. Anyway, this is a potion bottle. This is also from Muggle Art Study. I really like the idea of this one, and I really like the idea of the cauldron one too, where the images just kind of pop up through the watercolor. It's something that I've taught before in my concept stamping workshops, how to reveal a lot of these stamps through this kind of haze of watercolor. It's a really, really fun technique, but I do keep that kind of for workshops because it's a little involved and there's a bit of a process to it. So yeah, if you've done one of my concept stamping workshops before, we would have looked at that. And it's something that I demo at Creativation, or if I remember doing a quick demo, I think it's something really effective to show. This one was probably the most simple out of the 14. I know, 14, can you believe it? I'm almost finished the end of this video. I feel like I've said nothing. I've just been talking about all the things I like. Shock, horror. I feel like I co-opt all these voiceovers just to talk, just to like, yell everything at you and just tell you how I'm doing and what I'm loving. Hopefully you're loving a lot of that stuff too. This is one that I just said, rest. Unfortunately, I got into a bit of a bad habit again of not taking any days off, so I actually took that day off, which is really nice. Observe my Sabbath. I got into a really bad habit last year of not taking days off, so it's it's give and take. I can't tell you have to and it's imperative and that you should. Sometimes when you're running your own business, there's just not the option to do it. But if you can, which I believe it should be a priority. I guess that was my point. I never really made it such a priority before, but now I do make it a priority to get one day off a week, and that is typically Sunday, so I can start my day off at church, listening to church now online, and then just really feel that for the rest of the day. Typically I fall asleep, and it's actually such a waste of a day. In my world anyway, I get really upset that I fall asleep, but it is really important to recharge the batteries and just kind of fill up your cup a little bit. So that is something that I just wanted to document because it's a struggle that I've had for a while, for years now. But I got a lot better at it, and so the minute I feel it slipping, it's a good accountability to put it back in your journal and say like, hey, remember this was important, and there are benefits to it, even though your brain is going to tell you work, and that's better. I end up getting the same amount done, so I should just take the day off, right? And this is the last, obviously very stunning and gorgeous Juno Birch inspired little Stampin' illustration. I really love this one, and I didn't set out to do Juno Birch in the Instagram live. I think it was just the idea that I tried to draw a woman, but it came out looking like an alien, and Juno Birch's whole character, just super funny. So these are all of the 14, my fortnight of stamped women. I don't know what I'm going to call this video, but don't think I'm going to call it that. A fortnight of stamped women. Who came up with that? I really love this. I think it was a really great way to kind of document a fortnight in a really interesting way, where the days are kind of personified in these muses. The irony of saying muse when Kira flashes by. I love Xanadu. Anyway, that is it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're having fun with your own stamp sets, or either trying these ideas yourself, even without stamp sets. If you can draw a body, if you can draw a face, even if you can't, if you can draw a stick with some leaves, you can draw a bow truckle. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this idea. Please use it if you want to use it. Don't feel pressured to buy anything. The stamps are there if you want them and if you want to play with them. They're available in the shop. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you again very soon, and bye.
all I need.